Hi everyone, welcome to Career Launcher. My name is Abhilasha and we are preparing for CLAT. So guys, I hope you've been following my sessions for CLAT 2027. If you haven't yet started, do join in. This is just the right time. CLAT is around 3.5 months away, 4 months away. And if you are trying to pull up your preparation, well, we are here to help you. Okay, so without wasting any more time, I will get started with my passage for today. Today's passage is Science and Technology. This is session number 2. Okay, before we begin, CL Freedom Sale starts from 12th to 16th of August, which is the lowest price ever for all CLAT online programs, starting at just 12,999. If you wish to join up, do join right away. All right, so today we are doing a passage in science. I will open up the passage, give you a minute to read, and then we shall discuss. Okay, in the meantime, I'm removing myself from the screen. You read. Hi, Harsimrat. Hi, Jayant. Okay, read, guys. Huh? Hi, Siddhi. I hope you guys have read this part of the passage, and I can go on to the next part. Very quickly, the important things that there was a debate whether economic growth and environmental sustainability can coexist, but the debate has not given us any solution. The dominant strand of thinking is that industrialization was extractive, that every amount of GDP growth had a measurable cost to natural capital. Okay, so in the limits to growth report, this was what was mentioned. Now, the counter argument, which was developed in 80s and 90s, is known as the environmental Kuznets curve hypothesis. It says that as economies develop, environmental degradation initially worsens, but then eventually improves once per capita income crosses certain threshold. So then the citizens acquire the means and the will to demand cleaner production, and this hypothesis is coming from one of Kuznets' earlier work on income inequality, which said there is an inverted U relationship between economic development and the gap between the rich and the poor. So that's your first part. Let's look at the second part of this passage. So take a minute, read, and then we will discuss again. All right. I hope you have read this part of the passage. This one said that critics of the Kuznets framework argue that empirical record is mixed as bad. So you have not been able to prove. So some pollutants do appear to decline. Other indicators don't really. They say something else. Carbon dioxide emissions have shown no reliable downward inflection. This distinction matters because production-based accounting credits a country for the emissions it has effectively outsourced to lower-income manufacturing economies. When the carbon embedded in import is counted, the environmental gains of wealthy nations look considerably more modest. A further complication is the role of technological change. Optimists fail to point to the rapid fall in the cost of renewable energy as evidence that decoupling growth from carbon emissions is now technologically feasible. Skeptics counter that efficacy gains have been offset by the Jevons paradox. As a resource benefit becomes cheaper to use, total consumption of it tends to rise, often negating the environmental benefit of the efficiency improvement itself. Whether the current renewable transition will escape this historical pattern remains genuinely contested. All right, so that's your passage. Here's your first question. According to the passage, the environmental Kuznets curve hypothesis predicts that environmental degradation will decline when a nation shifts its economy from manufacturing to services, per capita incomes cross a certain threshold, governments introduce binding environmental legislation, industrialization reaches its natural peak. So which of these is the correct answer? The correct answer here is Jayanta. Jayanta says A is the correct answer. Others, anyone else who has the answer? I can take you to the passage also for a moment. Here it is. So the author had said that as economies develop, environmental degradation initially worsens, but eventually improves once per capita incomes across a certain threshold. And therefore, the correct answer here will be option number B and not any other option, right? So that's your answer. All right, let's go to the next question. Question number 2. The passage draws a distinction between production-based and consumption-based accounting of carbon emissions. What is the specific consequence of using production-based accounting as stated in the passage? It overstates the total carbon emissions of lower income manufacturing economies. It ignores the role of renewable energy in reducing national carbon footprints. It credits the country for emissions that have effectively been outsourced to other nations. It makes high income countries appear more responsible for global warming than they actually are. Which of these is the correct answer to this question? So it had very clearly said that when you have production-based accounting, let me mark. Because production-based accounting credits a country for emissions it has effectively outsourced to lower-income manufacturing economies. So when a production-based accounting happens, it will credit the country for emissions that it has outsourced also, right? So therefore, the correct answer will be C, that it credits a country for emissions that have effectively been outsourced to other nations. So your correct answer will be option number C. All right. Which of the following does the passage explicitly identify as a pollutant that does show a decline after threshold income is reached? So which one of these was mentioned in the passage? Come on, guys. The passage very clearly gave us this answer also. Okay, Siddhi says C. I'm waiting for your answers. Others, Jayant says A. Anyone else with any answer? So let's take a look. The passage very clearly said carbon dioxide has not shown any. Let's underline. Carbon dioxide emissions have shown no reliable downward inflection. So no. So what will be the correct answer? The correct answer will be sulfur dioxide, which was what was mentioned in the passage. See here, particularly local air pollutants such as sulfur dioxide do appear to decline. So he has mentioned sulfur dioxide and not carbon dioxide as the correct answer. Okay, I hope you got that. All right, let's go to question number 4. What is the Jevons paradox? It is the tendency of wealthy nations to export their pollution to lower income countries. It is the observation that economic growth and environmental improvement follow an inverted U curve. It is the principle that renewable energy costs fall as production scales up. Or is it the finding that efficiency gains in resource use are offset by rising total consumption of that resource? All right, so what was the Jevons paradox? So D says A is the correct answer. Jayant says B is the correct answer. All right, let's just go to the passage. Take a minute, read and find out. Excuse me. So Jevons paradox was mentioned very clearly in the passage. All you had to do, just like in CLAT, is go and check. So it said, as a resource becomes cheaper to use, total consumption of it tends to rise, often negating the environmental benefit of the efficiency improvement itself. Okay. So the more you use, if it becomes cheaper, then you start using more of it. So the environmental benefits are lost. So that's the Jevons paradox. And therefore, the correct answer will be option number D. That efficiency gains in resource use are offset by total rising consumption of that resource. So the more the benefits that you would gain are offset by the losses by more consumption of that resource. So correct answer D. All right, let's look at question number 5. What is the primary objective of the passage? What is the author trying to tell you here? To examine the ongoing debate surrounding the economic growth and environmental sustainability by evaluating major theories, counter-arguments, and modern complications. To prove that the environmental Kuznets curve hypothesis is flawed due to carbon outsourcing and the Jevons paradox. To argue that the technological advancements such as cheap solar energy will ultimately resolve the conflict between growth and environmental degradation, or to trace the historical evolution of economic models from 1972 limits to growth report to modern renewable transactions. All right, so the correct answer to this question, yes, both of you have got it right, is option number A. To try and examine this ongoing debate which surrounds economic growth and environmental sustainability. Correct. So correct answer is A. All right, question number 6. Based on the passage's explanation of production-based accounting versus consumption-based accounting, what can be inferred about high-income nations? That their apparent environmental improvements may partially be an illusion created by transferring carbon-heavy industries to poorer countries. They produce significantly less total pollution today than they did in the 20th century. They rely exclusively on local air pollutants like sulfur dioxide to evaluate their environmental progress. They have successfully decoupled economic growth from all forms of carbon emissions. Which of these will be the correct answer? Okay, I'm waiting for your answers. Oh, both of you have said A is the correct answer. Yes, that their apparent environmental improvements may just be an illusion created by transferring carbon-heavy industries to poorer countries. And therefore, the poorer countries have the pressure of the carbon, this thing, and these countries don't. So therefore, yes, correct answer, A. All right. So how much was your score, guys? Very quickly tell me, out of these 6 questions, how many did you do right? In the meantime, remember that has a freedom sale going on from 12th to 16th of August. If you wish to buy the CL test series, it is just starting at $9.99. We have 60 tests, 48 CLAT mocks and 12 AILET mocks in this test series, complete explanation with videos and everything. And guys, this is a wonderful, wonderful test series. So if you do wish to join, you can. Of course, the pricing and everything you can find out once you connect up. Okay. All right. So that brings me to the end of today's session. If you did find this session to be helpful, all you need to do is connect with us. Okay. Like the session, subscribe to the channel, and also hit the bell icon so you get notifications. You can also share this with a friend. Also, if you wish to enroll, 8130038836 is our number. You can connect on this and join up. Remember, the test series from the 12th to the 16th. 12th to the 16th is just $9.99. And the preparation course is also extremely, it's almost free. So do make sure, if you are planning to join up, do join right away. All right, everybody, that's it from me. Thank you so much. I will see you next week, same time, same place, Thursdays, 5:30 p.m. Bye-bye.